How is everybody doing on this lovely Monday afternoon? Well, it's not lovely here. It's cold and rainy and shitty, but hopefully wherever you are, it's awesome. And if you have this album, I guarantee you're going to be having a good time. The album Corpsessed with Succumb to Rot. This album comes out on Dark Descent Records and features vocalist Maddie Mille, Yuri Lustig and Nico Matalainen on guitar, Jussi Manner on drums, Tuomas Kumala on bass. Now, this is a Finnish death metal band that has been around since 2007, put out their first album in 2014, and this is their fourth, coming out in 2022, and what an album it is. I really enjoyed listening to this album, and these guys, going back a little bit, seems like they progress every album. And this one may be my favorite of the bunch, Succumb to Rot, the first title track right off the bat. The big intro isn't like overly drawn out or anything. It sets a good mood for the album and pacing and whatnot, but the pacing in this varies. They did a little more in this album than the typical Death Doom, where it's just one tempo and then half of that, and either or. They really change the tempos around a lot, and it leads to a pretty enjoyable experience as a listener when you're starting at the first song and going all the way to the end like it should be. A lot of their openings are like this, and they're just not overly drawn out. They get their point across, they set their mood, and then they get to the point of the song, and they keep driving riffs coming with those tempo changes coming in. Third song, Death Drenched. Love the groove to start this song, and Tuomas does a great job at changing the drums to build on everything really well. You're taking that riff that's repeating and just changing the drums enough to keep you engaged as a listener. That's the general writing rule of thumb, is the average listener wants or expects a change or an ad or something then like 7 to 12 seconds, every 7 to 12 seconds, a general rule of thumb anyway. That groove and that change and that flow that he creates on drums flows very well into the main kind of verse riff, which is just straight old-fashioned good old death metal, chugging at you, vocals to match. Now, in Spiritual Malevolence, there's a part of the intro. They do another build-up, which again isn't overly drawn out. But the next part after that kind of build-up that they establish, it breaks off into this really disjointed, kind of broke-up riff. And then they go into the verse riff. And the verse riff is badass. But I think that it was like a little too just disjointed. They did a great job building this thing up, and then it was kind of like, and then they fall into the riff. And that's kind of the feeling you get as a listener. I think it would have had a bigger impact if they would have maybe cut a little bit of that out and just got to the riff in a way that made sense, of course, but hit hard, and didn't just slide into gear. The middle part, the doomy death part, is fantastic, and I really love that part of the song. Not like I don't enjoy the rest of the song, it's just that one little part, it seemed a little off. Calling Void right off the bat is very Morbid Angel domination in the best way possible, and the guitar riff for that verse that they slide into about a minute in or so, or 45 seconds, I love the way they kind of drag the last couple notes on that riff before the resolve. It really adds flavor to that just blast death, the straight, that little drag in the riff is nice. I like it. I dig it. Sublime Indignation. Again, in this one, I dig the little tempo changes that they do, but some parts of these and some of the transitions seem a little rough or disjointed. And the solo in this, while it's good, it's just like a little high in the mix. And then when they come to the next riff or verse after that, that part drops off. And again, it's more about having that transitional impact into what you're doing next. Whereas you have the solo, it's mixed a little high, which is fine, but it doesn't drag off or drop off in a sloping kind of way to kind of go into that riff where sonically it's in the same realm, where you have something so high and then it drops off. It's like your ears are missing something, and at least to me anyway. The last two songs on the album, they do a really good job in Profane Phlegm to kind of drive that mid-tempo death, and then the last song they go out into this doomy death, just goodness. I really enjoyed the last part of this album, and especially the last song. It scratched all those little itches that I have for my doomy death, and it was great. So overall, I'm going to give this another 4 out of 5. Man, this week has been great for death metal fans. There's some killer stuff has come out this week where I thought, like, of looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of excited by maybe a few things, but this surprised me the most, I think, this week. But the only thing holding me back from something, rating it a 4 or 5 or whatever, is it's just my style, my personal preference. I don't enjoy those gargly vocals. I don't know. It's just me. Be honest. It's my review, I guess. And I want you to know that I don't care for this style of vocals, and it does affect my rating because it's my rating. But a 4 out of 5 is a really good rating for me. And like I said, we've been lucky this week that I have anyway, that I've really enjoyed these listens. And if you're into even death metal, death doom, any of that stuff, you're going to love this album. And Matt is good at what he does. It's just, I think there's room. I hear talent in what he's doing enough to maybe change it a little bit rather than keep it all in the same, line vocally, like harmonically or whatever you want to call it. I can definitely hear that he's singing correctly and stuff. So I think that opens up to maybe bending the rules just a little bit. I understand they're the rules, so I do take it into account. And but you guys are on a roll, man, and I can't wait to see you guys if you get over here, if and when. Would love to see this band live. It seems like all this stuff would transition extremely well live because it's not overdone. It's just straight meat and potatoes, doom death goodness, and it's great. But who cares what I think? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I'll read through them and we'll dissect it. If you dig the video, dig the channel, give her a thumbs up, subscribe, all that jazz. We got some really cool shirts on our website, thrallsofmetal.com. Check that out there. And thanks for joining in and thanks for supporting the channel. We'll keep chugging along. But I will see you next time.